Christians celebrate Christmas.
Should Christians be celebrating this pagan holiday called Christmas? I'm going to answer the question for you in this video. So every single year, I kid you not, around the Advent season. Now, when I say Advent, that's just a word on the Christian liturgical calendar. It comes from a Latin word, Adventus, which means coming. The season in which Christians celebrate the coming, the incarnation of the birth of Jesus. When I tell you, fam, every single year during this time, if I post anything, if my wife posts a picture of our Christmas tree, yes, we got one. A few. If we talk about a Christmas service or anything, we inevitably deal with people who are, I wish they had questions, but really people who are articulating their opinions about why we shouldn't be doing this. And one of the arguments is an argument that Christmas is a pagan holiday and Christians shouldn't celebrate it. So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to tell you what I think. And I think to explore this subject, we got to move past our own personal biases and opinions and say, hey, to explore this subject, there are 3 specific areas of discipline we need to look at, all right? First thing we need to look at is we need to know something about culture or history. Because if you're saying something is a pagan holiday, you can't just throw that out there, fam. You're going to tell me what pagan holiday it is, right? So you can't say that. So cultural history. I got to know something about cultural history during that. I also got to know a little bit of church history. Because if this is a pagan holiday, at what point did the church start celebrating it? And why? Got me? And then finally, and I know people don't like this word, it's become a bad word. I don't know why thinking has become such a bad thing in religious context. Like we need to love God with our heart, our soul, and our mind, the utilization of our mind. But fam, the third thing is theology, right? Like, so we got to answer this question about, is this syncretism or evangelism? So I want to lean right into this and just explore something in those 3 areas, and then I'm gonna let you know what I think, and then I'm out of here. So cultural history. All right. So what were some historical realities in this specific cultural context? So when we talk about Christmas being a pagan holiday, we got to go not just to like regular history. We got to go to Roman history, right? So I mean that's kind of. Yes, that is the context in which Jesus was born. So we got to ask some questions there. So what was happening in Rome during a certain time period? Okay, so this is where people get this idea of Christmas being a pagan holiday from. During something called the winter solstice, Romans had several pagan celebrations, but 2 of the most common were a celebration catered toward or dedicated to Saturn, which is the god of agriculture. And this festival began December the 17th, and it lasted for several days. All right, so there was this celebration in Rome where there was the honoring of Saturn, an agricultural god. There's another one that was equally as prominent during that time period. It's called Sol Invictus, which means unconquered sun. So this is a festival dedicated to a sun god, and this happened on December the 25th. So let me tell you what happens. Because that took place in Rome during that time period, some people made a leap in logic and assumed that Christians have I know I'm getting ahead of myself, have engaged in syncretism and taken the birth of Jesus and conflated it with the celebration of an agricultural god and a sun god. The question is it true? Listen, when you get better spiritually, everything get better. Spiritual life is not the only important part of your life. It is the most important part of your life because it affects every other part that's important. But you don't get stronger spiritually accidentally. It takes intentionality. You need to get fed, and you got to learn how to understand, how to interpret, how to apply, and how to explain the Bible. The Bible's the blueprint to your best life. And I'm going to tell you, Sunday's not enough to give you the tools that you need to get better with the Bible. I want you to join me in my community called Bible U, where I help you take your understanding, your application, and your explanation of the Bible to another level. And the answer is no. That's the answer. It's not true. Now, let me say something really quick, okay? And I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but at the risk of it coming off the wrong way, I'm going to say this very plainly and very clearly because I'm very passionate about this. It's very important to be able to know whether or not the information you're getting is credible information. And this is why you can't believe everything you read. So here, this is something in academic circles that if you've had any matriculation in any academic circle, you're going to be familiar with the term peer review. Right? So what does that mean, Dharius? That's just like, this is what it's simply saying. That there is, if a work, a book, an article, a journal has been peer reviewed, it means that other independent experts in that particular subject matter have objectively, watch this, have objectively had the opportunity to be exposed to what was written, and they're able to verify, come on, the accuracy of certain details. It's not all about opinions and whether or not they agree. But let's say, for example, like we all know, let's say we heard the Civil War happen. You wasn't there. I wasn't there. You don't know, like we know Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. We wasn't there. You didn't see it. I didn't see it. But we believe it exists because there are historical scholars that are also experts in that time period that can verify facts. Now, it becomes opinion and subjective when someone starts interpreting what the emancipation, why Lincoln did it. He did it because of a political move. He did it. See, now that becomes subjective. But what's a fact is that he issued the Emancipation Proclamation. And we know that because there are a group of other people who studied that area who are able to verify, yo, this really happened. And this is what happens. Some people pick up these books, they have not been peer reviewed, and they say, well, the Romans celebrated the sun god on December 25th, and Christians were influenced by Romans, and so they just celebrated the birth of Jesus on December the 25th. It's not credible. Now, this is what someone's going to say. Who determines what's credible? It's not an issue of right or wrong, because something can be peer-reviewed and still be inaccurate, yet at the same time. The larger point I'm trying to make is that everything you read isn't right. Right? So you got that cultural, historical reality, but we got to ask some questions on church history side. What were some ecclesiological or church realities going on during that time period? What was happening in the life of the church? Listen to me. Christians did not know the exact date of Jesus's birth. And most Christians do not claim that December 25th is the exact date of Jesus's birth. We weren't there. The question theologically that we need to ask, though, is it appropriate to celebrate the birth? So this is what happened, right? Christians didn't know the exact date of Jesus' birth, but there were ranges. So there are a couple of theories here. So one of the theories links to Augustine of Hippo and Hippolytus of Rome. In the early 3rd century, Hippolytus of Rome identified December 25th as a possible date of Jesus' birth based on his calculations of 9 months from March 25th to December 25th, and that's why he chose that date. Augustine agreed with him on that. But then you got another theory that's interesting, and that is Christians who were not influenced by Hippolytus or Augustine didn't know the exact date of Jesus' birth, but they chose the 25th for a reason. And the reason wasn't to worship the sun god. And this goes to the theological question here. Was this syncretism, like the synchronizing or the blending of religions, or was this evangelism? Was this the Christians' way of saying we're getting ready to own this date? That we're not going to allow in Rome the worship of an agricultural god or the worship of a sun god to be the most prominent, dominant celebration on this day. As an act of evangelism, we are going to designate a day on December the 25th where we are not celebrating a sun god or an agricultural god. We're celebrating the birth of our Savior. To say this is syncretism is a lack of understanding of church history. There was governmental hostility toward believers until Constantine issued something called the Edict of Milan, declaring Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. Which means, man, people were being beheaded and martyred and persecuted for being believers. So these people had to even be catechized, tested around many of them had to be tested around certain doctrinal beliefs to even be seen as believers. So these weren't dummies. These weren't people who said, oh, we're just about to worship the sun god. They chose this day not to synchronize with pagan culture, but to evangelize pagan culture. And they were actually successful. Because when you say December 25th now, do you think about Saturn? Do you think about Sol Invictus? No, they evangelized. They redeemed that day. They pushed that celebration out of the center of Roman culture and made the celebration of Jesus the dominant celebration on December the 25th. So this day now is not known for pagan practices. It's known for the birth and the incarnation of Jesus. So I say, if you don't want to celebrate Christmas, don't. But leave me alone. Because just because I don't agree, we don't agree with you, doesn't mean we haven't been exposed to the same information. Now, truth be told, I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but truth be told, I love when the Apostle Paul say, listen. He said, my boast is in the Lord. And he would say, I'm a Pharisee, circumcised on the 8th day from the tribe of Benjamin. His name was Saul, originally named after the first king of Israel. Saul, trained under the rabbinical tutelage of Gamaliel, educated at the University of Tarsus, spoke between 7 and 14 languages, wrote over 2/3 of the New Testament. Darius, why are you saying all that? I'm saying all that to say I'm not Paul, but I'm no dummy either. So we aren't just blindly. It is insulting to Christians who celebrate Christmas to think you know something about it we don't know. And if a person, let's say, I saw one thing out one time, people, oh gosh, they heard about different things. We shouldn't do it, it's not in the Bible. Okay, let me tell you what else is not in the Bible. Dating, not in the Bible. So if you're dating, you're pagan. Betrothal was in the Bible, but not dating. There's no dating in the Bible. It was betrothal. So when you became engaged, engagement was covenantal. So covenantal, if you broke off the engagement, you had to succumb to or apply the rules of divorce. This is what the whole Advent story is about when Joseph secretly wanted to put away Mary. They weren't even married, but they were betrothed. So if you dating, you pagan. You know what else is not in the Bible? Your birthday.
Okay.
So when you say it's my birthday season, it's my time. So it's not okay for us to celebrate the birth of Jesus, but it is okay for a person to have a turn up a whole month for their birthday. I've seen people say, I don't celebrate Christmas, iced out, diamonds in their ear. So it means who knows where those diamonds came from. what kind of labor people were put under to secure those diamonds. Blood diamonds are a real thing, but we upset because somebody got a Christmas tree. Who designed your car? Is he an atheist? So if we're going to apply that logic and we're going to be intellectually honest, we need to do it across the board. So my approach to this is Paul's approach in Colossians chapter 2. Hey, if you don't want to celebrate it, don't celebrate it. That's your preference. But for those of us who choose to say we're going to honor this day as a day of celebration, because what matters to us is not just when he came, it's that he came.
Man.
And we celebrate that. With that being said, Merry Christmas.
I love Christmas. My mom and them love Christmas. Those of y'all that know my mom and my sister, they love Christmas. You know, all the Christmas stuff that comes with it. I love Christmas. The air around Christmas just feels better and everything is much more loving and giving, which it should be all the time. But I do like the spirit of Christmas. So just tell me what you all think. All right, I hope y'all enjoyed that information. Maybe y'all can share that information to somebody that you want to, that questions it, or maybe you'll be informed. It informed me. It did give me some good information as well. So just let me know what you think in the comments. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Like, comment, subscribe.